Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rebecca Mormon. We are getting ready to air our 3-part series on WrestleMania. It's been a long time coming. Thank you guys for tuning in to listen. We know it took a long time for it to get here. We apologize. We just had some things in life come up that have been pretty busy, kept us on our toes, but they're here, and we're ready for you guys to listen. So enjoy. Welcome to a special edition of the entertainment from the 573. It is special because obviously this is a female voice. This is not Ryan. This is not Matt. This isn't even Peter Lewis. Hi, King. This is Rebecca and Matt Mormon. And there is no Ryan. There's no Peter. There's just King. And that is because we are here to talk in 3 episodes about our honeymoon because, as we've mentioned, we went to WrestleMania 41. We're going to split this up into 3 episodes. We're going to talk about night 1 here first. And then in the following 2 episodes, we'll talk about night 2. And then in episode 3, we'll kind of talk about everything else wrestling-wise that we did in Vegas. So that includes WWE World, WrestleCon, and Monday Night Raw. We will put a disclosure out right now. We did not go to Friday Night SmackDown. That is just a choice we made. So that is not something we are going to discuss, right, King?
Yeah, and King was not with us for the honeymoon. However, he decided to join us for the podcast because he's such a good boy.
We'll see how long he sticks around.
Yeah, he seems very comfortable right now, just hanging out on my leg.
So we'll see how long this lasts.
And, hey, dogs are always good for views, so say hi to the world, buddy.
Well, and that kind of jumps us right in because one of his favorite wrestlers right now, big yawn, is the man that kicked off night 1 of WrestleMania. Which was Jey Uso. So we did not, okay, I'm going to rephrase this. We did not want to see the set before we got there. But we did end up seeing a spoiler of the set while we were at WWE World Friday morning.
Thanks, Pat McAfee.
Yes, it was all Pat McAfee's fault. So we did know what the stage looked like, but we really didn't understand, how big it was. So our seats, we were kind of not really on the floor, but we were on the floor. And because this is primarily a video podcast, we will be showing pictures as we are talking, but for the audio listeners, we'll just kind of explain it as best we can. And then maybe go check it out on YouTube.
So basically our seats, the big stage is over where one end zone is. And then the ring is where the Raiders logo would be. Our seats were then at the other end zone.
So we were looking directly at the ramp where the wrestlers were coming down. We looked directly at the stage, but we were to the right of where the main camera would be.
We were kind of behind the Spanish commentary. I think that's kind of what was directly in front of us. We got a really good view during the main event of the Roman Reigns powerbomb of Seth Rollins. Night 2, the Braun Breaker, Spear, and Carlito. Right?
Yeah.
That was right directly in front of us. But so when you kind of see the wide shots, you see the fans that are actually on the floor. We're not them.
We're that next section up, and so they put seats down in kind of a riser area, which is like he said, right in the end zone. They were zip tied together, so you couldn't move them, and that's how they got 61,000 sold out night 1, and then somehow it was
they found
sold
2,000
out.
more people.
They found 2,000 more people to then sell out again night 2. But I don't
tell
know
me you've never sold out of something and then gone back and made more to then sell out more? It's like cookies, right?
It's Steiner math, but whatever.
Yeah. So night 1.
Well, do we want to say do we have an opinion on what the set was?
Oh yeah. So it was really cool. It was casino based. Night 1, it was kind of more like an orange color. Night 2 is more of a purple color.
It was blue and pink was night 2.
I think it was purple, and there's blue and pink hue out of purple.
Sorry.
But I
we'll
thought that was really
pictures
cool.
And we'll show who's really right here.
It's me. I thought it was really cool though how it was 2 different colors. I liked how I feel like in general they were trying to kind of do 2 different theme songs too for each night, but they kept on going back to the Travis Scott one more, I guess. But night 2 when they would run down the card and stuff, that's when they would play the Weeknd song a little bit more. So I liked how they kind of tried to make them feel a little bit different. Triple H introduces night 1, Steph introduces night 2, so that little bit different vibe to it. The set itself very cool. The giant casino look of it, fans sitting on the set.
So, for anyone that watched WrestleMania, you saw there's on top of the casino buildings, and then in the center too, there were people. And then, really not a whole lot of pyro at all. So, I mean, like, and the pyro was kind of on the sides itself of the structure, so obviously it wasn't going to hurt the people that were sitting there. Hello, microphone.
I was just tilting it more towards you because you're quieter than I am.
I know.
And so you need to speak more into it than I do because I'm just pointing it more towards you to help you. See, we're a tag team here, you know, and so I figured maybe if I did a tag team move that would help my partner out, maybe she would, you know, benefit.
So we already met. So that kind of goes right in again. Good transition. So a former tag team champion went up against the which title did Gunther
World
have?
Heavyweight.
World Heavyweight. Okay, because both titles are very much this like kind of similar name. That's how the women's are too. So I never know who has which.
Gunther versus Jey Uso.
That kicked off night one.
And I thought that was the right move to be the first match of the show because it does get the crowd involved a lot. It does kind of bring that energy a little bit, you know, with all the yeeting that we got to do.
We yeeted for about 25 minutes.
There's a lot of yeeting. My arms were getting tired.
Well, we had signs, and we'll post pictures throughout of the signs that we had. So we had a sign for yeet. We said yeeting on our honeymoon. And so I was kind of just yeeting with my whole body, kind of like doing like crunches with my torso. And we yeeted for about 25 minutes. Yeah. The crowd was very into it. And also a disclaimer, we did go back and watch both night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. So we can also kind of give a little bit of insight on
the differences.
Like what we felt the crowd was into, what we felt the crowd was not into versus what we heard on TV. And also Peter was kind of giving us his insight as he was watching live. And he was like asking for our input, you know, just to answer when we could.
Well, and I think the crowd noise in particular is something that just doesn't come across as well at these stadium shows. You know, like when we were there, especially with this match, you know, there's a couple that, you know, even when you were there, it felt a little quiet, you know, in particular, like the tag match the next. But, like, I really thought that, like, during Jacob Fought 2 LA Knight, the crowd was a lot more into it than what comes across on TV. Mm-hmm. When you have these giant venues, when you have these football stadiums, it really takes a lot from the crowd in order for it to come through on screen. So when it does come through on screen, that place is absolutely rocking. And there's times where, at that point too. Go ahead.
It takes a lot for I'm thinking even just like the chants. It'll start on one end of the stadium and they'll be done with it by the time it kind of gets over to where we're at maybe. So then, I mean, like he said, if you're really hearing it, that's because somehow all of us are actually doing it at the same time, which actually ended up being kind of rare.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we were all eating together. There was John Cena stuff that was going on. I think all the stuff with the main event people for both nights.
Yeah. But there were plenty of times, though, where it's like, This Is Awesome chant starts, like, in our little area. But it doesn't pick up. And then, like, maybe you hear it. Oh, I do hear it. It's over there now. But it's not over there. You know, especially because we were behind the commentary. So we kind of had two halves of the stadium in front of us. It was interesting how sometimes you like hear a chant over here, but you don't hear it over there.
Or they're like trying to do it together, but you're hearing it at two different times. Yeah. So I've straight up said a few times, like, I can't chant. I need this to kind of even out.
Yeah, sync up.
So yeah, we'll break down match by match a little bit, kind of what we thought. So yeah, as we've been alluding to, Jey Uso and Gunther kicked it off. The whole crowd was into Jey the whole time. And I thought it was a very well done match.
What did you think? Because I thought so too, and I think this is one that in person's better than it is on TV. I think Jey Uso just lends to that strength. What did you think of the submission finisher though? Because I think that's been a point of big contest ever since. Because Jey Uso, not exactly Bret Hart out there, you know, that's not his thing. What did you think of the fact that this match ended with a submission?
Well, yeah, so the story, especially kind of going back to the end of the match, like Jay's kind of been throwing out all of his moves. Nothing's really getting Gunther to stay down. So then he starts using Gunther's moves. Jey started chopping, did 3 splashes.
Did a
power bomb. And then by the end, Jay put Gunther into Gunther's sleeper hold. And within about 5 seconds, Gunther tapped. In the moment, we were obviously all very happy for Jey. And then, you know, the crowd's going crazy. We're all yeeting, and, you know, everyone's so happy. And we'll talk more about the end of it, too, post-match. And it was kind of when he walked away and we're starting to get ready for match 2. And when we all were kind of like, that was fast. That almost seemed like not something you'd expect. And then I read something later on Twitter. I don't even remember. And when I say stuff like that, I'm like, I never know if it's a reputable source. And I tell Matt, he said, like, even going back to, like, NXT UK when Gunther was Walter, it's just not in his character to withstand submissions. And he's not really put in submissions often. And so when he was put in that submission, it is like Gunther's character to then just tap out super quickly.
See, I saw that too. I think it's dumb. I don't think that is his character. I think it's simply, here was a finish to one other match that he lost, which, by the way, the guy's only lost like 5 matches, right? Across being Walter plus Gunther in WWE. And so, here's similar to one other match that happened 4 years ago. I don't personally think that's like part of Gunther's character to give up quick. I think it was just not very good, in that regard. Now, I do like the sleeper hold part of things. I just think he should be able to hold out longer. Maybe
just make him pass out. Yeah,
I think that's
that
was kind of the way to get out of that submission thing, right? Because like submissions are tricky. Because like back when I was a kid, when you had like Benoit, Jericho, Kurt Angle, it didn't feel like you were a quitter if you tapped out. And then somewhere along the way of the last 25 years, tapping out has become viewed as such a point of weakness. And I think what they were trying to do was Gunther knew he got caught and knew there was no way out, so he was just going to tap, and that was that, right? But because of kind of just the way that submission finishers have been treated, it just makes you look a lot worse than that, even though it really shouldn't, but it does, you know? I disagree. I saw that too. I disagree with the theory, the notion that, like, oh, this is a character flaw of Gunther. This is a weakness where you can get him. I just think it's a thing that's happened to happen twice.
Okay.
And when you've only had 5 losses, I guess when something happens twice,
it now is the pattern. It's the routine. As a pattern,
but like Sami Zayn didn't win with a sleeper or a submission, you know. Yeah. Neither did Cody, right? Like, so it's I don't necessarily buy that so much, but I did like the sleeper part of it though, because really one of the big things in the story, and it was kind of a messy story from Rumble to Mania, you know, it was almost too long of a gap this year between Rumble and WrestleMania for the Rumble winners. One of the stories they told was Jey got caught in the sleeper several times. And so in my opinion, why wouldn't Jey look at that and go, well, I keep getting caught in this thing. I can't get out of it. Why don't I try it to him?
Yeah.
You know, I think that side of thing makes total sense. Hey, this guy's been kicking my butt for the last 10 weeks. Why don't I do his stuff? His stuff's really good. His stuff works. By the way, John Cena kind of gets the you can't wrestle chance at him, right? Jey Uso, there is a pocket of fans that have that. Well, that same pocket, without a question, thinks Gunther can wrestle. So, yeah, I'm just going to do the wrestler's wrestling to the wrestler. I'm going to win the World Heavyweight title that way.
Well, and I think he did get caught in the sleeper, like, one time, but it wasn't, like, a super tight, or I don't remember how he got out of it. But Jey got caught in it once, yes.
Oh, he got caught in it several times. I think he got out of it once.
Well, I meant at Mania itself, not in the whole story build. And so, the ending was very sweet. So part of the story was, to really rile up Jey, was his brother Jimmy got murdered by Gunther. It was a very bloody situation. Matt said it was very good that I did not watch that.
Yeah.
So Jimmy comes back from the dead, and is in the ring after Jey's been given the title. And in my mind, there was no question that Jimmy was on Jey's side, that it was literally them as real life brothers. This is them celebrating such a big accomplishment for the both of them. I did not speculate that Jimmy was going to turn on Jey.
No, not at Mania.
Not at Mania. Because that is something that is a very Mania move, would be to have that, but that just too soon. And I think it was very special that both of them, as just real life brothers, got to celebrate that together. So I got nothing else really to say about the match. I think in terms of did it translate better on TV or in person, it translated better in person.
Yeah. Let's move on then to a pair of not real life brothers. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston of the New Day. They win the Raw Tag Team Championships against the War Raiders.
Cheating a little bit, because Kofi held down Ivar's leg so he couldn't put it on the rope to issue a break from the pin.
Yeah, this match was what it was. On TV, I noticed the Clash of Clans sponsorship part, and part of me wonders if that's why this match even like happened. Because Ivar and
Eric came down dressed as two of the characters,
and they look like them. You know, like they look like they belong doing that. And of course, New Day, they love their video game stuff. So, but this match needed something, right? We saw that in night 2 with Priest versus McIntyre. That match went on second, but it was a street fight and it was awesome. This match needed that. And by the way, in the build, it was baked in to have this match do something because was it 2 episodes of Raw before the WrestleMania? Or maybe it was even the last one before, where it was Viking Raiders versus New Day. And New Day got themselves disqualified, right? The chair, Ivar, I believe it was, ended up taking the chair and beating the crap out of him. And so New Day won by disqualification. Well, there was nothing stopping that from happening again here. So in the build, you even introduced a chair into it. And so it's like, why not have this match be a street fight of some kind? You know, they kept on calling it a tag team championship clash.
Yeah,
right?
to reference Clash of Clans, which was sponsoring the match.
Yeah, and so by calling it a clash instead
we
of
were
a match,
waiting for it to heat beat to find out this was going to be an ODQ of some kind, and it wasn't.
And
it was just
wasn't.
a normal tag team.
And this was definitely the match of the entire weekend where I noticed people getting up and walking around.
This was your go to the bathroom match, 1,000%.
It's funny because like the show just started. Do you really need to go to the bathroom already?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you really hungry? You just got here. You know, but that's what this match definitely was, though, and that's a bummer. That's a shame because it's New Day and like they're Hall of Famers and they won tag titles for the first time in forever. But it was what it was.
So yeah, and especially one thing I will point out too is since we were on the other side of the stadium and like I mentioned, obviously sound's taking a lot longer to travel. There's usually like a big pop for like when the wrestler first comes out, and then we're kind of silent and we don't really hear anything. And this was when I really first noticed it. I was like, is no one cheering for them? But the thing is, I don't even know if New Day or War Raiders even got a pop. And that's what we heard in person. That's what we caught on TV too. And we had a couple people say like, was there anything going for them there? And we said no, it was kind of dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the big thing. I was very happy that the New Day won. It was nice to see them win in person. It was nice to see them wrestle in person. Cool to hear their new song, since turning heel.
Well, and they needed that. You know, that heel turn on Big E.
They needed this, yeah.
That was so awesome. That was one of the best things of last year was that heel turn on Big E. And they
heartbreaking, but really good.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Yeah, like good in the bad way, or bad in the good way, I guess. But no, it was, and they've done nothing since. And unfortunately, even like the Raw after Mania, we'll get to that, but like Otis and Tozawa are the ones who kind of went to confront them. Like the Raw tag division really just needs something to happen. I don't know if it's like, you know, maybe the draft is coming up, maybe they find a new oddball pairing, you know, think like an RK Bro or the Bar, you know, kind of an origin, because someone needs to come to this Raw tag division because these guys have no one
except the War Raiders
to go up against. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are you good there?
I think I'm good. Yeah. So in terms of did it translate better in person or on TV, I'm gonna just give the nod to TV because they had the commentators to basically fill that void of just pure silence.
Yeah.
And the crowd was giving them nothing. We gave them nothing. It wasn't just us. Like we cheered and then we'd stop and we're like, oh, no one else is cheering anymore either. So I'm gonna say it translated better on TV. But even still, it was kind of probably the lowest match of the weekend.
Yeah, it really probably was across both nights. I think on a quick scan here, it is probably my worst match of the weekend. And it's not necessarily because like those guys suck. They're awesome.
The wrestling itself wasn't bad at all. Like these guys know how to move. Especially like War Raiders specifically.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
These guys, like it was so cool to see Ivar fly.
Yeah, that's one thing that's actually a big up from this one in person. Like seeing a dude like Ivar do the things he can do is really just cool to see in person. Like even from a bit of a distance like what we were at. Just seeing a man who's like the size of a defensive tackle go do a moonsault and do a cartwheel and jump out, you know, out the ring and dive. Like, that is awesome to see. So, that was cool. Another person who does awesome and amazing things is Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill beats Naomi. A little bit longer of a match than I was expecting because Jade, there's always the possibility of it being a 3-minute match. The entrances here are cool. Jade had the weatherman. Kind of a little bit cheesy, kind of corny. I really enjoyed in the stadium. They had like all the graphics like kind of get stormy as like the storm was coming in for the forecast. So like the WrestleMania logo on the screens that were above the ring, they start having like raindrops over those and like wind and stuff. And so like, that was really, really cool to see in person. And I don't know, maybe it was just in my head, I felt the AC kick on harder. And like the wind was blowing indoors more. I don't know, that may have just been in my head.
And we also got a
Naomi
glimpse of a new song.
Yeah, well, Naomi had the it was almost like a high school football style banner of caution tape only that she ran through. But yeah, a new song. It was metal. It was pretty cool, I thought. I think Naomi as a whole is pretty cool right now. I hope for big things for her, but the night was just not her night. Tonight was always gonna be Jade's night. I think off the top of my head, the kind of the sickest part was probably the when she brought up in the electric chair, spun around powerbomb. That was wicked. In person, it was super cool because like it will get to that a little bit with LA Knight and Jacob Fatu in the next match, but like we can't see the details when you're there live.
Yeah.
So as long as it looks generically cool and it looks like you at least got most of it, it looks wicked in person.
Yeah. And like everyone is reacting to every single bump. Like that did translate, and it was, I mean, like we were doing it, everyone else was doing it. And one thing too, I think what also was special about this match is that it wasn't Jade only. Naomi had probably more offense compared to Jade. So I thought that was really neat in terms, so because like we do know now as we're recording this about a week after night 2, and we've had a Raw and a SmackDown since Mania, we do know that the storyline is continuing. So it was really cool to see like it wasn't just a Jade powerhouse match and she's destroying Naomi, who's been in the company for at least a decade, if not longer. Naomi got some moves, and she knew like Jade's weak spot. She knew what to do. But I mean, in the end, it was really cool to see that finisher that Jade really does. I mean, like kind of where we were sitting, I'm not sure I saw like the full pose that she did. They did have it up on the screens. Yeah. So like there were times, especially when they were outside the ring, and sometimes we couldn't even see their heads. So then that's when we'd look up. So like that's when I like saw the actual finisher. And I tried really hard to make sure I was watching in the ring. So I was like, this is what we're going to watch on the TV. Sometimes I caught myself looking up, but like that's when you're going to see the facial expressions. It's when you're going to see what's happening outside the ring, all that stuff. So did it translate better on TV or in person? I'm going to say in person for this one.
I thought it was basically the same, honestly. I in person, I think it was more fun. Than on TV.
Yeah, translate may not be the right word. Yeah. I think in terms of like crowd energy.
This one was good either way.
Yeah, like was it like in terms of could we essentially see it in the ring, or did we like need to like watch it from the TV the whole time? Because sometimes, and we'll kind of get to it, there's a couple matches where it just seemed like it was so slow that we were just watching the screen and we're like, this is maybe not doing as well in person, and it's gonna look and feel better on TV, sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna move on to the next one. So next up was LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. I'm sorry, I didn't say it correctly.
LA Knight, yeah.
And I know you had some thoughts on the entrance here because it was Jacob Fatu just in a mask, and LA Knight came out in a car.
Yeah, and so I just felt like a lot of the entrances in general, just if you think back to like the big like entrances that are in the WrestleMania hype documentaries of
the ones everyone
all time,
knows. The Shawn Michaels coming down from the rafters,
all the Triple H's,
all of his,
all the Undertakers. Yep. I was hoping for something of that caliber. We're in Vegas; it's meant to be flashy. Everyone had like a little bit of something.
Everyone, a lot of people had something.
A little bit of something. So, I mean, I think that's probably more to say than even like those WrestleManias where there was the flashier moments, because probably all the money went to that.
Sure.
But everyone had just a little bitty something and nothing overly flashy. So, as a someone that went in person, I was wanting the flashy. I was wanting the big because we were there in person. And part of me was also like, maybe it's just not translating well because I'm seeing the whole stadium, I'm seeing the whole picture. And also, granted, with some of these entrances too, to me, it didn't feel like it read as well in person compared to when we watched it back. Because, yes, we were in a dome stadium, but we were on West Coast time. So there it was starting at 4 o'clock, and it was ending at 8. It had just gotten dark. So... yeah. A lot of those things that were meant to get dark and scary, like Jade Cargill's entrance, for example, getting Stormy, it wasn't reading as well in person. It read much better on TV.
And that's been a bigger problem in the past. Because honestly, like, thinking back right now, I feel like there aren't as many, like, blackout entrances as what there was about 10 years. You know, when you had Sting having his run, Undertaker still being active, and Bray Wyatt, right? Like, thinking about those guys who, like, a dark, spooky entrance is a, like, unquestioned requirement. Like, Damian Priest, his entrance is dark and spooky, but I think he kind of got away with being in daylight because he's cool like that. But I'm trying to think, like, it's not like there's too many that's, like, it's a full-on requirement, but it definitely enhances a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we just didn't have that element. Out of curiosity,
that was all I had to really say about the entrances.
Well, I've got 2 questions for you here on entrances.
Uh-huh.
Number 1, are cars cool?
It depends on the car.
I know.
A lot of times, I feel like I'm not a big car person in general. I really don't care. Like,
I agree.
My car is literally kind of just hanging on by a thread.
Well, but like,
so I'm like, if it moves, it moves. I don't care. But like, other people have such an opinion about that. I just don't.
I think it was Pat that was kind of geeking out over the car that Charlotte came out in. And to me, it just looks like a car, you know? JBL had the limo that had the horns on the front. Mm. That was, like, his standard entrance. And that was cool because it, like, had the horns. Eddie Guerrero had the lowrider that bounced up and down.
Or if it's, like, a flashy color, but these were kind of just standard, like, gray.
I think for Dominic, there could be a really cool thing someday where he does the Eddie lowrider thing because Dominic is Eddie 2.0. He is his son, after all. And so I think there could be something there, but yeah, no, just a car, I can take it or leave it, you know, like it's just a car. Congratulations. A lot of people drove to the arena tonight in cars. We almost got ran over by a golf cart. Well, it had the commentators on it, right?
That was night too.
Like, would they have come down in the golf cart, and would that have been more cool? I don't know. It probably would have been about the same. My second question for you, though, for entrance is, who was your favorite?
Entrance? I'm trying to just... think. Let me steal your phone.
Yeah, get yourself a word bank here. I'll give you my answer while you're looking. For me, it probably was CM Punk. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. We get to their match with the video package going into it, where they kind of spliced in the footage from like 20 years ago on ECW.
Yeah, so I mean, just looking ahead, we had. I mean, obviously there was nothing except his normal entrance, Joe Hendry, but that was a
fair.
different. There was a different circumstance there that you might need to listen. You're gonna need to listen, and you probably need to watch that episode because we will actually play a video. Yeah. Entrance. Yeah. I mean, the Punk thing. It just felt very emotional about the whole thing, because they had like a full video package before it.
It really felt like
Jay's in person.
Yeah.
In terms of like a WrestleMania entrance, Tiffany's was the Barbie house because it turns out those houses, hey Kingers, you're back. The houses or the casinos, they actually changed colors and they turned into Barbie houses. Mm-hmm. And do you have something to say? Are you not a fan of Barbie dolls?
Kingers, do you not like Barbie dolls? What was that? Like, it wasn't the growl.
I don't know.
That?
It wasn't a burp either. You had something to say. So, okay, so kind of going into the match itself, it was very even. It kind of evenly paced, even offense versus defense between the two. This was something Jacob Fatu needed. This was something that he deserved. It was time to get LA Knight out of the United States picture. He's still trying to stay in it, but you know it's a way to try to get the title off of him. I think Fatu's gonna have a good run. He got a really big pop, and
people loved Jacob Fatu.
Well, and they loved LA Knight too. If we kind of go to the chants back and forth, you know, if you had "Let's Go Fatu, LA Knight," I was doing both of them.
Yeah.
he was picking one. I was doing both for most every person.
I think I'm trying to think back. I think this was the one match where I was like doing the cheers for every party. The triple threats, I usually pick 2 of the 3. And then I think all the other singles matches, I was doing one side or the other. I do think this is actually the one match where I was doing both sides.
But
because this was like
a lot of people were.
A lot of people were for this one because they're both awesome. They're both awesome. They're both incredible. And for LA Knight coming out of this, I know Peter kind of brought the idea of like this being a Fatu squash match. To me, that was never going to happen. LA Knight is way too popular, way too good, way too great for that. I just don't know where LA Knight goes from here. We saw on SmackDown that he kind of remained in the U.S. title picture a little bit. I'm ready for him to graduate out of that. Problem is, it's John Cena with that world title. So it's going to be like, as he'll tell us, limited dates, limited opportunities. A lot of those opportunities are going to probably go to really old guys that Cena has history with. And he doesn't have, like, they had one match with LA Knight about, a couple years ago. So I hope I'm wrong. It feels like it's going to be like the 3rd year in a row where like LA Knight's popular and beloved, but doesn't get like that moment, And brand split, things can happen, things can change. Maybe he ends up on the same brand as Jey, and that title feels like it's going to move around a little bit more over the next year. But I don't know. I love LA Knight. I just hope good things are still in the cards for him.
And it was super cool to see like all the flippy stuff from Fatu in person. That was super fun.
Oh my
Pop
goodness.
was big. Pop was super big. I'd say it translated, like the whole match just translated better in person just because you really, like everyone fed off the wrestlers. They fed off the 2 and we responded.
The big moment of the match definitely was better in person. The big moment of the match, Fatu was doing his jump up moonsault and LA Knight springs up, goes, catches him BFT. In person, you can't see the details. It looked like he nailed it. It looked incredible. Mind blown. I thought that was the finish. I thought that was the end of the match. I really genuinely did. On TV, you can see that, okay, LA Knight, it wasn't a 10 out of 10 grab, right? He didn't quite get all of it. But in person, though, you couldn't tell. And that was like a legit jump out of your seat maneuver, which was absolutely incredible. So this was definitely one that I say it was better in person because you don't see that one minute flaw that comes across on TV in 4K. Yeah. But absolutely, to me, night 1 really was a good, solid show. And so, like, this was a huge part of that. Like, to me, if you want to look at like a grid, it's like you had a really high, a little bit of a down with the New Day. And then you had, like, Jade Nail was kind of here. And then also there's this big spike in the middle, and that's this match. And then you kind of, go back down a little bit, and then hit the spike at the end here.
I don't know. The next match, and I'll introduce it, it's El Grande Americano versus Rey Fenix. The lead-in to this match, the video package, it was done in like a old-timey, grainy thing. And in person, so sometimes with the audio being at a huge stadium, the audio was kind of a little meh. And so when we went back and watched it in person, I didn't realize it was technically supposed to be El Grande Americano doing the narration and the interview, but with like a dubbed over robotic voice that's not meant to be his.
Do you think it was AI?
No, I told you I thought it was someone maybe on the crew.
Yeah, which I think is really a funny idea.
Or like a writer.
Because he's kind of doing if I try to do a Spanish accent with broken English, it's that level of bad. Yeah. Right? So I just find it would be hilarious if we found out one day that, that was Karrion Kross doing that, right? Like, it was somebody like that. I think that'd be really funny. The reason I asked about the AI thing is because they did use the AI art for some of the El Grande Americano, propaganda pieces.
Yeah, they did.
Which I find hilarious in this sense because, obviously it is fake. That's the whole shtick, the whole joke here is that it's not real. So, you had to use AI to replicate those things. So, you have the pictures, the high fives with 6 fingers, right? You have that stuff in there. And I think for this gimmick, it works. It's hilarious.
It's almost needed to make it work. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not real.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, hold on. I just want to get to my point real quick.
Yep.
So, so opening package and even the entrance, because the entrance on the video screen, we saw that it was in also the grainy footage of him coming out to the ring. We obviously are just seeing it on the video screen. In person, it's just normal color.
Our eyes were not grainy.
The entrances translated much better on TV and like that opening video package. Everything else about this match, much better in person. So fast, so high energy. I was tired just watching it. I was out of breath within 30 seconds. And I was like, and this is what impresses me about Chad Gable, is that he has taken...
Why are you bringing Chad Gable into this? That's El Grande Americano. And real quick point on your translating to crowd, that right there, the humor of this. Comedy is better when you're laughing with people versus when you're just at home, right? If you're just by yourself in particular, if you're not watching it with like your lovely wife at home on TV, I could see a world where you're not laughing with someone and you just roll your eyes and go, this is dumb. When you're in a group of 60,000 people, in like the very start of this match where they did like the lay down, like the arms up spot, 60,000 people laughed.
Oh, that was so fun. That was my favorite part of the whole match. It was great.
Right. And so that kind of a thing, you just can't replicate that. All right, go on.
Yeah, so,
Chad Gable.
Obviously, yeah, Chad Gable. He said he wanted to learn the art of Lucha Libre. And so if we find out that El Grande Americano is just Chad Gable with a mask, Chad Gable did very, very well at wherever he got his lucha training. Like, he has taken it so... Like, while the gimmick is so funny, he has taken it so seriously. Yep. And, like, I mean, it's to the point where, yes, it's a funny gimmick, but, yeah, like, what if this actually was a different person? Because if you look at Chad's style, he wrestles a little differently. And it's much like a
completely different person.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So, and I love that Lucha's El Grande's Lucha mask, it like has like a looking mustache because it comes down to his upper lip and it looks like a little mustache. Everything about this match was fun. I do wish it was Rey Mysterio, but seeing Rey Fenix in person was just as fun. And I'd be interested to hear, like, was everything about the match basically the same? Because, I mean, he had like 24 hours basically to kind of figure this out. Like, was that whole arm bit something that El Grande and Rey Mysterio could have done, or was that just something that like they worked together and figured out on their own?
Because it does feel like Rey is almost too serious for that, something like that.
Yeah,
right. So... Like Rey almost would be too serious of a wrestler to do that kind of thing. The other thing I'm curious on, obviously there was the AAA incorporation, also Vikingo hitting El Grande there at the start of it. And then he came in and checked on Rey Fenix after the match was over. So there could be some AAA integration for El Grande Americano in the future, which I think could be hilarious. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, I kind of thought that, like, if it was Rey Mysterio, this is kind of the big moment where the mask comes off, right? This is the moment where the mask comes off, it's revealed that's Kurt Angle, and then, he gets in the ankle lock and wins. Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe this story did take a bit of a pivot because it does seem like El Grande, the character, might take some time away now. That was kind of something that was alluded to on Raw.
That Chad Gable alluded to.
Yeah, Chad said that his friend, Kurt Angle, El Grande Americano,
was taking a victory tour.
Yeah, so he may be gone for a little bit. So I'm curious to see, like, maybe this was supposed to be the Grande finale.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either necessarily, but
he's gonna get such a giant pop when he gets back.
People love this guy. I think part of it's because we all love Chad Gable, and even though it's not Chad Gable, it feels like it's kind of like Chad Gable's friend. So like we're all happy for him too, right? Mm-hmm. Because Chad Gable's a guy who a lot of us have been watching since NXT, and it's like here's this really fun tag team with him and Jason Jordan, and then they decide that Jason Jordan's gonna go be Kurt Angle's son. And Chad kind of gets kicked to the curb. And then he had this amazing tag team that was super fun and underrated with Bobby Roode. Because everybody loved Bobby Roode. Well, then that kind of, kind of simmers out a little bit. And then the Shorty G thing happens. Him and Corbin, nothing happens there. And honestly, Chad just doesn't do much for a while before scooping up Otis. Yeah. And then Alpha Academy really kind of it took off. Alpha Academy RK Bro was one of the best things of that summer. And then, Chad turned babyface, had the things with Gunther, and it was like, oh my goodness, he's going to win the IC title, and he doesn't. So it's like, I think a lot of us are just really wanting to see something really great for Chad.
Yeah.
And if we can't have anything great for Chad, then maybe we can have something great for his friend El Grande Americano. And so I think that's where a lot of that comes from. It does suck to see Rey Fenix take a loss this quick. I think that's like the one negative as far as like a big picture goes is I think you would have liked to have seen Rey Fenix get booked like Penta, where it was like 2 months of solid Penta wins before. Okay, now he's just kind of a part of the roster now. Takes a couple losses here and there maybe, but like for Phoenix to lose this quickly in a big match, it is what it is though. Like somebody was gonna have to lose. You didn't want to be El Grande, because everyone loves him.
Mm-hmm. So we'll go into the second to last match for the WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair.
Woo!
So this was like I said earlier, the flashiest entrance in my opinion because Tiffany had the Barbie doll entrance. So she had like 2 other boxes with like I don't even know, like holograms.
You got to take a picture with Roman Reigns doing
something similar
at WWE World. There was a Roman Reigns box.
He mean mugged me.
Yeah. So it was like these hologram boxes of the people doing like different poses, different faces, that kind of thing. And in the middle box is Tiffany herself.
Yep, with the title. Yep, and so then the boxes on the side on like the casinos on like the stage had turned colors. I didn't realize they were like screens. I thought they were just, boxes. So yeah, they turned colors. They turned into Barbie house. Charlotte came out in a car. Big whoop. Now, both blondes, both with pink.
Yeah.
Charlotte had some blue.
Yeah, but I think Tiff had like, what was it, like silver though? Like
Tiffany's was blue, pink and silver. Charlotte's was pink and blue.
But from where we were sitting, they looked
Matt
identical.
looked at me at one point. He was like, "Which one's which?" And I said, "Well, Tiffany, I could tell Tiffany. Tiffany had a bit more curl to it, and she had her hair up. Tiff also has some bangs.
Charlotte's taller.
Tiffany, I think, has more like defined muscles.
Yes, but Charlotte has enough.
No, Charlotte's toned, but I almost feel like Tiffany's like it's more like defined.
Yeah, but in person,
she doesn't need to necessarily flex for the biceps to be there. Charlotte flexes for the biceps.
But in person though, like that detail, I couldn't tell at all. And so in person, this is probably the match the most I've watched on the screen. Yeah. Because I could not tell the difference between these two women. I think that's part of the story. There were a couple promos, like especially the one where they were wearing black, where it was like kind of intentionally showing the mirror similarity between these two. Both of them coming in young, both of them amazingly athletic, both of them blonde, both of them successful, both of them talented, right? And if you even want to go a bit step deeper, Tiffany in storyline was I think the Daddy's little girl. I think it was like their technical like when she first debuted in NXT. Charlotte, you have Ric Flair, right? Woo!
Literally.
So a lot of mirrors there, and so I get the idea of doing the attires similarly, but then in person, I don't know, man.
Hard.
I didn't know who was who.
In general, I think this match actually was fairly slow. And we got some feedback from our friends that were watching on TV saying the same thing. Not really sure why. Not as flippy as I thought I would. I'm not sure. Did Charlotte flip at all?
I'm not sure. I think part of the problem with the slowness, I think, is just the fact that these two don't seem to actually get along. And when you don't have like that chemistry, this as a dancer, we've both been doing sports and things like that. Like if you are working with someone you don't like, it's harder to have, even like you try to set that aside, it's harder to have that chemistry. That's why we're so great doing a podcast together, because we love each other. We're husband and wife. So when we do this thing, we bounce off each other very well because we actually like each other.
Yeah. So that's part of it too. And I did go out of the ring a lot, so we were having to look up at the screen. But yeah, I think Tiffany was like doing backflips into elbows in the ring, and then she did her prettiest moonsault ever. I'm not sure there was really any other flips, so that kind of upset me in person, is expecting a ton of flips between the two of them. But Tiffany came away the winner. I think it was necessary. And we've talked about it. We agree that it's definitely trying to show that like WWE is trying to push Tiffany to be the next Charlotte Flair. So to be the person, you gotta beat the person. So I really, we did already have a SmackDown, and I mean, Charlotte wasn't there. I don't know if she's going to, she might be on a part-time schedule now. She might be taking some time off again. But I mean, you had a very hard time betting against Charlotte Flair. Yep. And I was like, if she's going to lose to anyone, it's going to be to Tiffany.
You know, how many times have I seen it where it's like, oh my goodness, there's no way so-and-so could possibly lose this match. It would kill their momentum, but they're going against Charlotte Flair. They're going against John Cena. They're going against, you know, Randy has kind of been in that role before, right? Roman for sure, right? Like, there have just been these certain people who it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to pick against you, you know, because I've seen it too many times.
Yeah. So I think that's really all I have to say. I think it probably translated better on TV because you did have the commentary kind of helping fill in the slowness.
I do think the one thing that helped in person though is we didn't see the sloppiness details again. Kind of like Fatu and LA Knight where we didn't see the details of the misses. Sometimes when you're there in person, it looks like, oh, big move just happened, or yay. And kind of the crowd excitement can also help fill in that gap a little bit. Maybe not to the same extent as Pat McAfee can, but like we can help with that too. And you don't see the details of the misses as much. So I thought this one was actually kind of even for me as far as watching it back versus being in person.
Well, and you kind of mentioned kind of with the crowd and stuff. I felt like the crowd, we were just so into El Grande Americano. We were just so into Fatu and LA Knight. And up next is the main event.
Yep.
We're tired now. We're like, we need a break. So obviously there was still crowd participation, but it kind of felt like it was a little bit lower. So at least from where we were at.
And that's one thing, WrestleMania, it used to be where there would be a silly promo or two, right? A bunch of legends come into a room, and then Ron Simmons goes, damn, right? Like, that kind of thing used to be an annual staple at WrestleMania. And in the Triple H era, it's just match for all these PLEs. And, you know, we're about to get to a bit here where there is, like, the Hall of Fame introduction, and then Shawn Michaels comes out and dances and says the number.
And shows us the number on a giant card.
But I think you're right, though. I think we could have really used, like, Hornswoggle and Ted DiBiase backstage doing something silly for 5 minutes.
Or even having the Hall of Fame or Shawn Michaels in that slot. I know that's not common. It's usually right before the main event, but at least give us time to go to the bathroom, to catch our breath, to take a drink of water, just something so we can get all hyped up for the last two matches. Because that deserved more hype than I think we gave them.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it was our fault.
That's fair to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So next up was the Hall of Fame, where Triple H came over and shook Bret Hart's hand. You know,
we didn't see that.
No.
Like, at least if we're watching just not the screen, we didn't see that facial reaction.
So obviously this is one that translated better on TV because you got to see Bret Hart's face where he just gives a massive eye roll at Triple H.
But I will say, because Triple H did his water bit, that was so cool to see from across the stadium. That was cool to see in person. So kind of a little bit, and we'll get into this when we talk about WrestleCon. We watched Survivor, and one of my favorite Survivor players was the one that pushed Lex Luger out in his wheelchair for his Hall of Fame induction. So we were like, we're going to see Jonathan on the WrestleMania stage.
You almost called him Mr. Jeff.
I
felt
did.
it.
I felt it. So,
because he used to say Mr. Jeff, and you like to call him Mr. Jeff. You came this close to saying, and Mr. Jeff pushed him out.
Yes. I knew his name, though. Mr. Jonathan. So, for whatever reason, I'm not really sure why, I haven't ever heard anything. Lex was not there night one for all the introductions. And we saw him the morning before at WrestleCon. Haven't heard anything else a week and a half, a week later. Yeah. So hopefully he's okay, and hopefully it was just maybe like a traveling thing. He had WrestleCon that morning. He was just tired. He said, I'm not committing to this. I don't know. But we did not get to see Mr. Jonathan or Lex Luger, but everyone else was there. So yeah.
And one other person we did get to see was about 61,000 people reading a big index card in the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels' hand, because he comes out there, oh, Shawn,
Everyone's
he does his
singing
little
his
dance,
dance.
he's having fun, he's being Shawn Michaels,
Well,
and just whips that card right towards the camera.
Well, so you pointed it out. You're like, we can see the number, I guess, because we could see the white part of the card, and so he looks up, says, we can see the number. And I've always wondered, like, how do these cards look on the other side? It's literally just a blank card. It's a picture on one side. It's blank on the other. I didn't know if it was nicely typed out, if it had, like, a little script for him. It is just the number in giant numbers. What are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
I'm doing a bit. You go on.
I don't know if I have anything else to say. So it's cool seeing Shawn Michaels in person.
Oh, I can't change the font size. I don't know
if you can do we're trying to work his iPhone, but I'm not really sure if I've ever seen him in person before. So it was cool.
Just
and
really
it was
big
sold
numbers.
So yeah, it was just sold. It was sold out, 61,000 of us,
Something like
and
that,
so cool. Yeah. That's all I have to say about Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that was cool to see Shawn. That was right in the main event then. So, Seth had a cool entrance where it started out in black, and then he had fire.
And this is when we went back. So he had his flamethrower, and he kind of was just aiming it at the back, and we were like, and I think I even said in the moment, I wish he had something to light on fire like The Rock did, however many years ago. When we watched it back on TV, the camera was angled so it looked like he was setting the projector on fire, and then the flames kind of went all over the screens and went down the ramp, and I was like, oh, so that part translated better, and his costume change also translated better on TV because it got to go to full black.
Yeah,
you can't really make a dome at 7:00 at night go full dark when it's still sunny outside. So I remember, I was like, oh, I wonder what's happening. I looked down, I'm like, he's in a different outfit. He's just standing there kind of glowing without glowing. And then all of a sudden the lights shine. We were like, oh, cool.
Especially because the new outfit was white.
Yeah.
And so it is. It's like you're just a silhouette of Seth Rollins.
And I'm like, we're sitting here for a minute. I wonder how long this was supposed to go. And because, and from a distance, I couldn't tell exactly how the costume was. It was literally something that they just had to rip off. It really didn't need to be that long of a break.
You've done that.
I have. But, I mean, the aesthetic on TV, I mean, I'm sure it was kind of trying to be like, oh, we just did a full costume change. No, you didn't. You just took the top one off. It's fine. So that was Seth's entrance. And then Roman came down. I mean, we all held up our hands for 15 minutes. My arms felt so cool. The burn. I was like, we felt it. Did we have a sign for Roman?
I don't believe so. We did on WWE World Day where we didn't our checklist,
okay, so
but not for.
We had Yeeted on our honeymoon, and then what was the other side?
It was.
Let me.
We're
looking on our phones. We're looking up at the
picture.
We'll
put it up on screen here. So
we are Paul Heyman people.
Oh, so we did have that's a Roman sign.
So yeah, you held it up for Roman's entrance because I don't think I did. So sorry, King's Tail just distracted me. He hit the table. So Roman's entrance is cool, and what we didn't actually see because of where we were sitting, we had the kind of the big screen, that 4-way thing. It was kind of blocking our view of these rectangle screens that I guess have been flashing all the different people throughout the night, which we occasionally saw in the wide shots on TV. But that 4-way camera would, whenever they did a group, a crowd shot, they made those go to just the WrestleMania logo.
Yeah. So
we never saw the wide shot. So then when they started coming down behind Roman of all of his family members of the Anoa'i family, that's when we realized they were back there. And that was super cool. That part was super fun. To me, that also felt super flashy because at the same time, too, I was like, is this just a gimmick for TV or are those screens real? No, those screens were real.
Those were real. I do think it's also a little bit poetic that, Seth had a big entrance. We'll get to Punk's big entrance.
Roman was kind of minor.
It was kind of,
it was normal.
And that kind of goes along with the whole Roman Reigns story right now, where it's like, hey, he's lost his bloodline. Now he's lost his wise man. He's losing all of these things that he's had for the last 5 years.
But he still has a little
He does. Yeah, he has his red necklace, and that's going to go to Jacob Fatu here at some point. Or Jey Uso.
Oh, boy.
But I just think that's just another level of the Roman Reigns story.
So then we'll go into CM Punk. it started off with like an extra full-on hype package. Like instead, like, you know, you have your packages that preview each match. And mind you, if you haven't seen the promo package that led into this triple threat match, go look it up. Yeah. So well done. Probably the best one of the weekend. Yeah. In addition to this individual hype package just for CM Punk. Do you want to describe it a little bit? 'Cause you kind of did.
Yeah, it was, they took one of the promos that he did when he was in ECW about 20 years ago, and they spliced in him basically saying the exact same thing verbatim today. And so it's like Old Man Logan and like original X-Men Logan, right? Kind of, you know, the two sides of CM Punk here, kind of going in together. And it really was. It felt like a career. It genuinely made it feel like his entire career has led up to this point, which it has. You know,
and they played his old song.
Yeah, they played the Fire
and
Burns.
The crowd
loved it,
screaming the whole thing. Like that part was awesome. I didn't really realize at first what it was because I always forget there's like a screamo bit at the beginning. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, and then Matt goes, "This was his old song." And I was like, "This is kind of cool."
And you were not watching when his old song was happening either.
I also forget he had a lip ring.
Yeah, totally, and like in the hair and everything. You know, he's always been Pepsi Phil though through it all. But also in AEW, they did a similar thing one time though, where he did his old Ring of Honor song. So even if you're, and that's one thing that we talked with Peter about in the previous show, is that like this feud, depending on when your entry point is all these different things. And so even this one had a call back to AEW in a way, you know, in like that era of Punk, even though they can't outwardly do it, and he probably doesn't want to outwardly reference it, by playing an old theme of his, you are also kind of winking at, hey, here's this other thing that we did in AEW that was genuinely one of the coolest things, because that a very similar reaction in the AEW show, where everyone knew that song, everyone was belting that song, you know. And that was one where I had your experience where I was like, well, why are people playing this song? I don't know this song, you know, because I know CM Punk original theme being "This Fire Burns." But that was really, really cool, though, too. And then he comes out with Paul Heyman, looking like $1 million, the two of them.
Well, and we found out sitting in the seats getting ready for the show to start on Twitter that In Living Color was going to be playing Cult of Personality. They took the selfie on stage. Punk is having the time of his life. Yeah. Punk goes to look at his watch. Paul Heyman shoves the watch in front of him. And, you know, I was super happy. I love Punk.
I love what you said there. It was Punk was having the time of his life. He was having so much fun. And this pairing of Paul Heyman brought back so many happy feelings. And watching the two of them look like they're having so much fun, it makes what happens at the end then hurt even more because they're taking that away from you.
So yeah, kind of going into the match itself, I mean, it was literally perfection from start to end. These three know what they're doing. I mean, did my heart break? Yes. We're gonna flash up a picture here of my face. This was right after the show ended. So like Matt didn't take a picture in the middle of the show, kind of thing. We waited till like that said the credits roll, but you see my face, and I am just obviously like, holy what, this just happened. So Paul does end up turning.
Real quick, but before we get to there, okay. This match had 3 phases that I loved. The first phase was kind of one person gets thrown to the side, 2 people have a one-on-one match, right? You had the Punk and Seth going around the ring part of it. You had a Rollins and Roman. You had a Roman and Punk part where Paul Heyman didn't know what to do, right? It actually started out by Punk leaving the ring and going to Paul Heyman.
Well, and Seth was trying to get Roman to work with him, and Roman said, no.
So there's a lot of that. And then you had the second phase where it's a genuine triple threat match. It's a 3-person match. You know, you had like the spot where I believe it was Rollins threw Punk off of him trying to do a suplex, and he just goes right up and knees Roman, right? You have all of these sequences, the best one of which was the 3 finisher sequence.
That was super cool.
That was absolutely probably my favorite move of the entire weekend.
Well, and then there was a point too where they kind of all just start putting the other person in a submission. Whoever was holding the submission, someone would put them in the submission, so they'd have to let go.
Yes.
So there was the spot where Roman puts Punk and Rollins each through table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those phases of the match that were great. And then you get to the final phase. And that's where you have the big turn.
So, yeah, Paul Heyman Roman
I think it was right after the finishers. Because everybody was down, right?
Sort of. I think so. Might have been a little bit late, like a minute or 2 later. So Punk and Roman are just laying there. Paul Heyman gets a chair. So it's triple threat, no DQ. Roman's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And he looks at Roman, throws Punk the chair. Then Paul gets in the ring. And there was a collective like,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
Why is Paul in the ring? Gives Punk the chair as Punk goes to hit Roman. Paul Heyman low blow. And this is when I make that face that I made in the picture, and it just stayed.
And this is also like when he hits Punk with it. Did you think he is siding with Roman? Or did you think we're having a double turn?
I really was not. I think I was so shocked in the moment, I wasn't even thinking about the future. But you could see Roman's pearly whites from where we were sitting. They were glowing more than Seth Rollins in his entrance. But then, so Roman's giggling, Roman's smiling. And then, so I get back to Earth.
No, you didn't.
I did not.
You came within orbit of Earth.
So then Punk gives Roman the chair, says hit Seth. And then
first he wallops Punk with it.
Yeah,
Roman lays it in.
I think because Paul let Roman hit Punk, I was like, maybe this is it. And I was like, so is Roman going back to heel? But then as soon as Punk says, go hit Seth, this is exactly how it's set up from the Shield. I went, and I'm screaming, no. Everyone else knows what's happening. Roman then does this gentle push of Paul. The screams get louder. We're like, it did not, like, it was the same, like volume from that moment to to when it actually happened.
Yeah.
And then because Seth's back was to us, we had no idea what his face was doing, but the hand came out. So I think I looked up, and Seth's basically like, this was what I orchestrated. So he holds out his hand, and we're like, no! And then, same Shield chair to the back. Roman sold it the exact same way, which is how he has been selling it anytime it happens. It was a Rollins pinning Roman.
And I was right.
And he had Rollins winning. I don't remember if you had him pinning Roman though.
I believe I had him pinning Punk, I think.
But the thing is, and this is what's going to be really fun about this whole group, there was still a huge cheer for Rollins. Now I'm not really sure. I mean, because now if you have Paul Heyman
if I can
separately.
call a quick timeout.
Okay.
There, because throughout the match there wasn't. Like I was cheering for Seth Rollins.
You were really the only one.
Exactly. That's the point I'm making here. Is throughout a lot of this match, I'm the one doing "Let's go Rollins," and then like a person or two catches on, and then maybe we can get the the song because everybody loves it, right? It was by far, from a crowd contingency popularity standpoint,
OTC and CM Punk.
It was CM Punk and OTC, and then there's like 8 of us for Seth Rollins.
I think if we got the song going after
because people
Rollins,
like the song.
Because if Rollins did something huge and he's the one standing, we got the O's.
Yeah. But in general, it was like there was many times. I think I even joked to you at one point during the match. I feel like I'm the only one rooting for Seth.
Yeah, you said
that. But when the turns happen, all of a sudden this entire crowd is going nuts, and I think it's probably because like we saw something cool.
Yeah.
So we are going to cheer for the guy who is like benefiting from the cool thing.
You cheered. I did not. I just stood there like this.
You were a mess.
Well, and so so then like the match ends. He leaves the ring, and up on the screen we're watching, and they showed, because it was basically the Peacock feed that we were watching. We saw the credits come up.
Yeah.
But they kept the cameras rolling on the screens. We saw them all go back. Roman and Punk are sitting in the ring. Like, Roman's just sitting on the edge, and he's like, I can't believe I trusted him. I can't believe blah, blah, blah. And then Punk is just sitting up looking at Rollins' back, and it's just trying to basically connect with Roman. It's like, we both just, I don't know what I said. But you were right. Trying to connect with Roman, like, we just went through this together. Like, I'm with you, man. Like, we were both betrayed, and Roman's not wanting to deal with any of it. He's not wanting to trust anybody. And so we kind of, as we were letting the crowd kind of funnel out, we were just like making sure nothing else was going to happen. And then Rollins goes back. Then they played, like, Roman gets off the apron. They played Roman's music. And then Roman goes back. Then the rest of the crowd that was there gave Punk a huge pop because he stood up, kind of looked around. He kissed the center of the ring, and it was basically like, I did it. I achieved my goal. Yeah, so that was very special.
He never said he wanted to win the main event of WrestleMania. He just wanted to be in it. You know, he just wanted to main event WrestleMania. That was really like the big thing for Punk, and it does leave some meat on the bone for next year. Of like, now my new goal is to win the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
right. It leaves them there for Punk, and I agree with you completely too. You saw in their faces, I think both at Mania and then on Raw, Punk I think is kind of the one reaching out the olive branch a little bit. Like, look, me and you, we're going to have to do this thing together because we both just got screwed. And Roman is the guy who he said on the Pat McAfee show, his entire story is he's the guy who gets betrayed.
He has not betrayed anyone. Everyone's always betrayed him.
Even all the Bloodline guys, even though they were babyface turns, it was Sammy who turned on Roman. It was Jey and Jimmy who turned on Roman. Even though, he treated them like crap, at the end of the day, they were the ones who left him. He didn't leave them. And so Roman's whole thing is the guy who gets left, right? He gets broken up with every time. And it all stems back to the Shield, right?
Yeah, because Seth
and so that consistency is truly incredible. This match was just fantastic. Like, both the triple threats, night 1 and night 2
This
were
was my
incredible.
match of the weekend.
I have a hard time choosing.
Well, we can discuss that more in our next episode. Tune in, audio and video. We will go over night 2, and then in the third episode, we will talk about our trip to WWE World, WrestleCon, and Monday Night Raw. Be sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you follow all of the things. I'm not usually the one ending the podcast.
Views from the 573 podcast on Twitter. You can find Ryan on Twitter at Views from the 573. Entertainment from the 573 as well is on there as well. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. You can check it out all those places. For Rebecca Mormon and Matt Mormon, hey, thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys on part 2 of this 3-part podcast.